I was reading Morning Brew today, December 12th, as I'm on the bike, and I read it every morning. And, it's got the good morning stuff, it's got the market overview, and then recap on the markets. NASDAQ hit 20,000. CPI report came out yesterday, which found the annualized rate of inflation in November was 2.7%. It was early when I was reading this. So I thought, okay, maybe something's wrong. That's wrong. It's not an annualized rate in November, 2.7%. Now, because of the magnitude, it's not that big of a deal, but I'm a nerd, a stickler for this stuff. So I want to make sure that you understand what the actual number was and why that statement is wrong. So hopefully you can see my Excel. All right. So we're going to play with Fred. We're going to go grab some data. A couple things that you need. First, we need CPI index. Then we're going to need, you remember, you go to quick start, manipulation frequency, start date. We already got the series ID, so we're not going to put on any change. We'll just write LIN. It's monthly data. Now, how far back do I want to go? I don't need all the way back to 1962, which is the first date. I just want to examine November. I want to examine it in at least two different ways. One is month over month. The other is year over year. The 2.7% number that I talked about was actually a year over year number, not an annualized rate. So I need month over month. That means I need November and October. So I need at least two data points. Year over year, November. So that's November 2024 divided by November 2023. So I need at least 12 or so. So let's call back to October of 2023. Going. All right. So we got the index value that is not inflation. The CPI index, consumer price index, is the price level. It's not quite dollars, but it's an index value pertaining to dollars. Inflation is going to be the rate of change. So let's compute the rate of change. Month over month percent delta. I need some background music. All right. Now we can make that look a little bit prettier. Boom. Boom. Got it. Okay, so that's a month over month percent change. We'll also do a year over year percent change. I call it delta. So we're going to go down here, October to October. Oh, what did I forget? Was a parentheses. No. And November to November. Now, why did I go to here? Why did I skip row 8? Because you don't have data for September 2023. Why did I skip all this? Well, because I didn't have September 2023. Right. So every time that you're computing one of these rates of change across periods, you're going to wind up losing data. All right, let's make that guy nice and neat as well. Put it to two decimals. And actually, do I have this called up? Let's see here. CPI report. All right, 0.3%. Let's see if I can get this. 0.3% in November. There we got 0. We actually have it more accurate than what's rounded there, 0.31. And if you read there, 2.7% over the last 12 months. Right. Over the last 12 months. Good. So we got numbers that work. Again, 2.7% is rounded. Now, the Morning Brew report that I showed you said that it was annualized. Let's actually annualize this. What's the month over month percent? Delta annualized rate. AR, annualized rate, annualized rate. So a couple ways you can do that. One is you can compute a gross growth rate. 1 plus is gross. Without the 1 is just the net. Now we have to compound it. How do you compound it? We're not going to be just multiplying it by some number. These are simple rates of growth, so you need to compound. The way you compound is raised to an exponent, exponent to the frequency. How many units of this do you have per year? 12 months per year. Subtract off of 1. That, my friends, is the annual. There we go. That's the annualized rate of growth month over month. So not what you read in the Morning Brew of 2.7%. It's actually 3.82. That's a big difference. Now, just for completeness, you can do this in a different way. it'll give you the same exact numbers. Rather than building off of column C, which is that net rate of growth, you can go first principles. First principles would be go all the way back to the index. And then do the same stuff. Let's raise that to 12 minus 1. Boom, boom, boom. And make that nice and pretty. Same exact thing. It should be the same exact thing because they're built upon one another. Sometimes you have different flavors. Make sure you're comfortable with both. All right. Now, I didn't see this in the report, but suppose somebody did this. Y/Y, so it's year-over-year percent delta. AR stood for annualized rate. Okay, so let's see if we did that. That would be, let's take the 1 plus the year-over-year delta, which is analogous to what we were doing in column F. And then we have to raise it to the number of those periods per year, where it's a year-over-year percent delta. So there's one of those year-over-year numbers per year minus 1. Okay, so before you hit enter, anything raised to the 1 is itself. And then 1 plus d20 minus 1 would just give you d20, which means you should get exactly the same number. Moral of the story, don't annualize year-over-year numbers, those annual growth rates, not the annualized that Morning Brew had. Now, what did they have? In this bizarro world, they called the annualized rate 2.7%. Okay, so that's what Morning Brew had. What would that imply? So let's figure out bizarro world 2024. We're going to unfold what that annualized rate is. So that's the Morning Brews, month over month percent delta AR. Just to remind you, this is what the formula looks like. B21 divided by B20, so it's a growth rate raised to the 12 minus 1. I want to unfold that to find what the Bizarro equivalent is of B21, the Bizarro equivalent of the index in November 2024. So I have to get rid of the 1, which means I add it over. So I'm going to do 1 plus. I have to get rid of the raised to the 12. How do you get rid of an exponent? Raise it to the 1 over that exponent. So I'm going to raise it to 1 over 12. And then I have this B20 in the denominator, October. I want to multiply that over. So let's do that. And I need music raised to the 1 divided by 12. And then we're going to multiply it by October. That, my friends, is the index value for November that would have been applied if Morning Brew was right, and we had a 2.7% month-over-month delta annualized rate. All right, so then what would be the concomitant month-over-month change? Be careful, go up to October. Right, we're in Bizarro world here. And then what would have been the year-over-year change? Divide that by November. There we go. And 2.64%. Now you might be saying, okay, well, it's actually 2.73 rather than 2.7. So you can do that. Same thing. All right. I mean, barely any change. So if they were right in Morning Brew on their report that this was an annualized rate of growth of 2.7%, that means that the month over month delta would have been 0.22. The index would have been 316, and the annual rate would have been 2.64, about 10 basis points lower. These numbers matter. Hope that helps.